The Texas Rangers have not made the postseason since 2016. Over the past 6 disappointing seasons, the Rangers have had a winning percentage of 0.429. This season, they have a winning percentage of 0.590 and an AL West leading record of 59-41, good for the third best record in the American League. So how did they do it? How did they go from 38 games back of first place in their division at the end of the last season to now leading the reigning World Series champion Houston Astros by 3 games past the midway point of the season? Surely they're led by 2-time Cy Young Award winner, 4-time All-Star, former Rookie of the Year winner, the guy who owns the greatest career strikeout-to-walk ratio in MLB history, the man who they paid $185 million this offseason, Jacob deGrom, right? Maybe not. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Cole from Philadelphia Media, and today we'll be getting into how the Texas Rangers have become one of the most well-rounded and dangerous teams in the MLB this season, despite being one of the worst teams in the league for the past half decade or so. If at any point you enjoy what you're watching, do me a huge favor and leave a like. Also, feel free to leave a comment about your thoughts, suggestions, how your day's going, anything. Lastly, if you enjoy this type of stuff, the best thing you can do is subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of it and to let me know I'm doing something right. On to the video. The signing of deGrom was just the latest offseason big splash by the Rangers that proved they were interested in contending. Last offseason, it was Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, who they shelled out a combined $500 million to have them play up the middle. Seager himself has dealt with his fair share of injuries, which we'll get to, but back to deGrom for now. Jacob deGrom has been one of the most dominant pitchers to ever set foot on an MLB mound, but he's dealt with plenty of injuries. After pitching 200-plus innings for 3 straight years, from 2017 to 2019, and winning 2 Cy Young Awards, he combined for just about 156 innings the past 2 seasons. The Rangers decided to take a chance, though, signing the 35-year-old to a 5-year, $185 million contract. In deGrom's 4th start of the season, he was removed from the game as a precaution for right wrist soreness. 2 starts later, his 6th of the season, would be his last. He left that game, too, after retiring the first 10 Yankees hitters he faced. He allowed a single and then he was lifted from the game, and we later found out he was going to require Tommy John surgery. Quite the blow for Texas, but they'd push on without their ace. Instead, a new ace emerged. 33-year-old Nathan Eovaldi, who the Rangers signed to a 2-year, $34 million contract this offseason, stepped up. Personally, I mocked this signing, as I thought it was a lot of money to give to a guy who has a career ERA over 4 and an ERA plus of just 101, just a hair above average. I'm not afraid to admit I was wrong. Eovaldi has been dominant, making his 2nd All-Star game of his career, and he currently leads the American League in earned run average with a 2.69. His ERA plus is 162. His emergence has been huge for the Rangers this season, just like another guy, except this guy is 8 years younger than Eovaldi, and it's the Texas third baseman Josh Young. The former number 1 prospect for the Rangers, and he was number 36 in baseball in 2021, Young had an underwhelming debut last season, but he only played 26 games, so his rookie status remained intact. And now, Young is poised to win Rookie of the Year for the American League this season, with the best odds to win the award per DraftKings. He made his first All-Star appearance at this year's Midsummer Classic thanks to his solid numbers. An unsung hero in Eovaldi emerging as an ace, and your top prospect, Young, becoming the best third baseman in the AL this season are just 2 steps to building a championship contender. Earlier, I talked about how the Rangers committed a whopping $500 million to shortstop Corey Seager and second baseman Marcus Semien. Thus far, the investment seems to be paying off, with both of them also earning an All-Star game appearance this year. They say availability is the best ability. Well, Marcus Semien has been the definition of available. He's played every game so far this season for the Rangers, and it's nothing new for him. Back in 2019, he played all 162 games for the Oakland A's. He did the same thing for the Blue Jays in 2021, and then in his first year with the Rangers last season, he missed just 1 game. He leads the league in games played this year as well as runs, and has 14 homers with 61 runs batted in. He also strikes out very little, as his 13.2 K percentage has him in the top 7% in the league. In the field, he's in the top 4% in outs above average. Semien isn't a flashy player, but he's reliable, consistent, and available. The same cannot be said about his double play partner, though, Corey Seager. Out of that $500 million, Semien got $175 million of it, while Seager got the other $325 million. Seager had a solid first year in Texas last year, making an All-Star appearance, slugging 33 home runs, and driving in 83 runs. This year, he struggled with injuries, but that's the only struggling he's been doing. Seager owns a .350 batting average, .413 on base percentage, and .631 slug, good for an OPS over 1,000. In just 66 games, he has 15 home runs, 58 RBI, 29 doubles, and a B-WAR of 4.6. Seager has found his way onto the injured list yet again, and if the Rangers were relying on him to carry the load offensively, they would probably end up in a similar situation as they were in last season when they won just 68 games. But in addition to getting great production from Semien, Young, and Eovaldi on the mound, the All-Stars keep coming. The Rangers had 6 players in this year's All-Star game and were the first team to have 5 All-Star starters in 47 years. The other 2 players were catcher Jonah Heim and outfielder Adolis Garcia. Jonah Heim has been a pleasant surprise for the Rangers. Heim was their starting catcher last season, and while he showed some promise with 16 homers and 48 RBI in 127 games, he had a poor .227 batting average and .697 OPS. This year, Heim already has 14 home runs and has far more RBI than he had all of last season, while batting .282 with an .822 OPS. In exchange, the A's received a 32-year-old Elvis Andrus, whose best days were far behind him, Aramis Garcia, and cash. So the Rangers gave away Andrus, Garcia, and cash, and in return received the All-Star Game starting catcher for the American League this year. That's a pretty sweet deal for the Rangers. Another player the Rangers gave up relatively nothing for and started in this year's All-Star Game is Adolis Garcia. Garcia has 24 home runs this season and a league-leading 80 RBI. He's also slugging .512 and has an OPS of .847. Over the past 3 seasons as a Ranger, Garcia made 2 All-Star games, has hit 82 home runs, and has driven in 271 runs. Just for reference, that's the same amount of runs as Shohei Ohtani has driven in over that same span. And all the Rangers gave up for him was cash considerations. I bet the Cardinals wish they could do that one over. The Texas Rangers have the highest number of offensive wins above replacement in the league. Even if you just took only the 5 offensive players I told you about, Semien, Seager, Garcia, Heim, and Young, and combined their offensive WAR, they would still rank 3rd in the league compared to all the other teams. Other guys who have been helping offensively are Nathaniel Lowe, who won a Silver Slugger last season and has the 4th best OPS on the team with an .821. Travis Jankowski, who's played on 5 different major league teams in the past 4 seasons and also has an OPS over 800, as well as Ezekiel Duran, who they acquired in the Joey Gallo trade and has been very solid for them, also having an OPS over 800. And despite losing Jacob deGrom, the starting pitching staff owns the 3rd best team ERA in all of baseball. Veterans such as John Gray, Martin Perez, Andrew Heaney, as well as the previously mentioned Eovaldi have contributed a lot. Aside from the vets, Dane Dunning has stepped up in a major way in his 4th career season. He started this year in the bullpen and joined the starting rotation when deGrom went down. Dunning owns an 8-3 record with a 3.18 ERA. Out in the bullpen, they've got Will Smith closing things down, who has 17 saves, Brock Burke, who owns a sub-3 ERA, Jose Leclerc, whose ERA is just above 3, and Josh Spores, who has a K/9 of 12.4. But the Rangers weren't satisfied with that pen. No, they wanted to add one more guy, and on June 30th, that's what they did. They acquired a 7-time All-Star who was once the most dominant arm in the game, Aroldis Chapman. The 35-year-old Chapman has been a shell of his former self in recent years, but the Rangers aren't using him to close out ball games. They leave that to Will Smith, while they use the Cuban Missile in more of a setup role. And so far, as a Ranger, Chapman hasn't allowed a single run. In 7 appearances, he's allowed just 3 hits. The addition of Chapman is the perfect example of a team who is serious about winning and decides to pull the trigger on a move that they think can improve the team immediately. Put together all of these factors, great hitters doing what they're supposed to do, other hitters stepping up, a surprise ace, trading for a solid reliever, veterans and young pitchers playing well, and you've got the 2023 Texas Rangers. But there's one other element that has enabled them to the best record in the West. From 2010 to 2016, the San Francisco Giants won 3 World Series titles. The manager for all 3 of those was Bruce Bochy. Bochy is the 12th most winningest manager in baseball history, and after the 2019 season, he decided it was time to hang up the uniform and ball cap. Bochy retired following 2019, but when you're practically baseball royalty like Bochy is, it's not surprising that you get the urge to return. Texas's GM is Chris Young, who pitched for the Padres back when Bochy managed them. His relationship with Young, as well as his itch to get back in the dugout, is what caused him to return to baseball, this time managing a team who won just 68 games the year prior. But thanks to all of these players, as well as Bochy's managing, the Rangers are no longer that 68-win team. They're World Series contenders and look like they're set up for success for years to come. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and leave a like and comment. Also, do yourself a favor by subscribing so you'll never miss a video. See you next time.